Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing part 3 for my Q&As for this week leading up to The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 7, Crossed. Okay, yeah, so this will be part 3, and then I may do a part 4 probably either later today if I release this on Saturday, or maybe Sunday if I post this for Sunday. I'll have 2 that day. So we'll see. I haven't quite decided yet. We'll have to see how this goes. I tried to get to everybody's questions, but there was just so many this week, there's no way I can answer them all in videos. So I did the best I could for you guys. That said, if you have questions for next week's Q&A, private message them to me through YouTube, or if you just have, video suggestions, I always appreciate them. Send them to me as well. Of course, the mid-season finale is coming up soon, so after that ends, we'll need a good amount of topics, so it'll be good if you guys can send them through, in and around the time it ends. But we'll talk more about that when we get to around the mid-season finale. Same as what I usually do. I still try to make videos even when The Walking Dead isn't on throughout, the kind of the breaks, but I can't make as many, so I won't be able to commit to like doing 7 videos, a week or anything like that. But I could probably do 3 or 4, maybe 5 some weeks, as we go through and taking us up to the premiere of the second half of The Walking Dead Season 5. So look for that when this mid-season ends to the new subscribers who weren't here last year and don't really know what to expect. So we'll talk more about that when we get close to the date. First question for this one comes from Grant Angus 08, and he says, "Hey Trev, Q&A question for you here. I think in the mid-season finale, Daryl will somehow have to make a choice to save either Beth or Carol, with the other one dying. If this happens, which one do you think he'll save?" It's a good possibility. That would make for a good story. I could see them doing something like that for sure. At this point in time, I think Carol's the most likely to die in the show right now. Just with how the season's been going, how much development she's had, and how much concentration she's had since the end of about, honestly, since season 4 started, she's had a lot of time when you compare her to a lot of the other characters. Like, compare her to somebody like Maggie. Maggie has had almost no time compared to Carol. Carol's had a lot of time. So I think she's at the top of the list right now if Daryl had to choose between the two. Also, with the setup of the book, the book thing about Daryl really not focusing, but he really seems to cherish youth, right? And in the TV series, he knows Beth is a lot younger than Carol, obviously. So I think if he had to choose between the two, who would he save? It'd probably be Beth. Just based on what we've seen from his personality and kind of the way he behaves towards kids, like with the Noah thing and all that. He's kind of got that thing. So plus Carol has kind of already lived her life too. Like she's got, once you start having gray hair, you're getting to that point where you've had a pretty good life. Like back in the early days with human beings, we used to only live, I think the average age was like 40, 45 years old. That was the average life expectancy of people before, when we were more like, uncivilized and, a barbaric man, early on. We did not live very long, like 40, 45, that's it's pretty good. So anybody who can get even close to that in zombie apocalypse time, you're doing pretty good. You're not doing bad. So I think he would have to choose Beth between her or Carol if it comes down to that. And we may see something like that because that makes a lot of sense. If we do, I'll be sure to call you out for that one, Grant, because you sure are calling what I would say is a good prediction, I think. It makes a lot of sense from what we've seen. Next one's from Jay Cartwright. Jay says, episode Clear, season 3, episode 12. I always call it 13, but you're right, it's 12. If you look on the walls at 1410, Morgan predicted Zack Turning, and above it says Eugene Turned, and he also predicted the tainted meat, as it says the bad meat on the wall above the gun rack. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know about that. So he's pointing that out. I never saw that. I'm going to have to review that and look at that. Probably, maybe before bed I'll actually watch Clear again, because it's still one of my favorite episodes of The Walking Dead. I mean, Too Far Gone's the best. The premiere was awesome. Episode 3 from season 5 was incredible. But Clear certainly has to still be in my top 5 or somewhere close to it. It was just an incredible episode. So if there's hidden messaging in the scene with Morgan, that could possibly mean that maybe Eugene could die sometime soon. I guess we'll have to see what happens with that, but I'll go back and watch that because that'd be cool if they kind of sent us like some kind of a encrypted message or something, kind of be like if you ever seen the movie The Number 23 at the beginning, where in like the first minute it says Illuminati in the credit intro. You can find it on YouTube if you think I'm lying. You have to slow it down because you won't catch it at normal speed, but it's there. It says it right there. Number 23, that was with Jim Carrey. The only reason I mention that is because he's got Dumb and Dumber coming out, and yeah, he's put out there to kind of put some misinformation out there. Anyway, if you look into some of his stuff he's been doing recently, there's stuff here on YouTube talking about it. I'm not big. I don't get too much in the conspiracy stuff. I could, but yeah, there's some anything with hidden messaging, subliminal. Like Illuminati, triangles and stuff. You look at The Simpsons, like the Family Guy Simpsons crossover. You got the triangle on the Welcome to Springfield sign. Just stuff like that I think is absolutely fascinating. Like, why is it there? So anyway, that's with other stuff. With The Walking Dead, if they put that there, that'd be cool. I'm going to go back and watch that just to see. I hope what you're saying is true, because that would be neat. That'd be kind of like telling us beforehand, right? That'd be tricky, a little tricky. I think it's always interesting when they do that. When they put something out there before it actually happens is interesting. And only people that really look closely at it will see it. So anyway, next one is from Cal Drogo and Smacks Lab. Cal Drogo, love it. Love the name, man. Love Game of Thrones. Good stuff. So Cal and Smacks, they say, you should do a video about your thoughts on Michonne in the comic book series. What's going on with her. We haven't seen her for a while, basically. We've had a time skip. Kind of spoilers for the comic book series here a little bit. I think she's fine. I think Kirkman even said in one of the letter hacks at the end of the issues, I think he said she's fine. She's just with Ezekiel in the kingdom, which is another community, right? So I think she's kind of like his wife or whatever. So they're kind of like the leaders of that community, which is cool. In the TV series, I think they're going to go a different route with her. They could go the exact same one, but I tend to think they'll do something a little different with her, and I hope they will. Next one's from Charlie Felton, and he says, what are flaws in The Walking Dead that you don't like? So what are things I don't like? Well, what you could do is you could go through my channel, you could type in worst, and I've done a lot of top 5, top 10 worst videos. So top 10 worst episodes, and I've got the thumbnail still, and it just says sucks. And a lot of people watched it. So there's that one, and then there's other like worst. I've done some other worst stuff. Just type in worst in the search tool. You'll see what are a lot of different. I've counted them down, done lists and stuff. But some of the deaths I wasn't a big fan of. I don't really like what they did with Andrea. Don't like what they did with Dale. Some of the characters, it's kind of a trade-off. If you want to have the show be spontaneous and have characters die off at kind of like random times where we don't know what's going to happen, then what you have to do is sometimes you got to kill off a character that really hasn't been developed that much, or that could have a lot of potential to be a great character, and they have to kill them off because you got to have deaths every so often. For example, if they kill off Carol soon, it would be kind of one of those types of situations. So it's kind of a trade-off that some characters get killed off, when you would like to see more of them. Like I always kind of wanted to see more of John Bernthal's Shane. I kind of wanted to see what would happen to him if they did like a Merle situation with him, where he kind of disappears for a while and then comes back in as part of another group or something. I would love to see something like that. But, that's kind of a trade-off, because also you want to have that spontaneity where you don't know who's going to survive, who's going to die. You want to have that kind of uncomfortable, not sure feeling. You don't want to feel like everything and every character's safe until they're developed, and it's always predictable, right? So that's a trade-off. But yeah, definitely check out the worst videos I've done. Now, I've made some bad videos, but the videos I've done where I count down worst moments and worst episodes and things like that, Charlie, definitely check that out. This one's from A Lonely Ranger, and he says, I have a question or theory on Rick's group and Abraham's group fighting each other. I believe they will meet up at Herschel's farm. In the comics, after the prison was destroyed, the survivors go back to the farm in their respective groups. This is where we meet Abraham for the first time. Do you think that the two groups, now separated, will think of going to Herschel's farm for supplies and shelter? That's a really good question, man, and I like your theory. It sounds really good. By the way, I'll put all these questions in the description if you guys want to read them over. I would say that makes a lot of sense. Herschel's farm is a place, I almost thought we were never going to see that again. Like, we'll never see Herschel's farm again. But, you never know either, too. It could be something like that. I feel like the church is kind of like Herschel's like Herschel's farm. It's like the new farm, is the church. But I mean, we could see something like that. I'd like to see the farm again just to see where it's at right now. But I think kind of the understanding is that when the walkers went through there, they basically tore the place up. Like the place was pretty much destroyed, has lost all value because all the animals and stuff are gone and everything, and it just seems to me like the whole place was useless now. So I don't think we'll see it again, but that would be a good that'd be a cool one. Either that or Wiltshire Estates. We might still see that. They might call it a different thing though. They might change the name, so I guess we'll see. This one comes from Jacob Gilliot, and he says, Grady Memorial Hospital story arc to tell the story of the comic books issues 31 through 36, where Martinez helps Rick, Glenn, Michonne, Alice, and Dr. Stevens escape from Woodbury, sneaks out of the prison running back to Woodbury, and Rick running him over with the RV. Even though the circumstances are much different, with a couple of changes, this storyline would make sense and would bring a plot line from the comics to the TV series. That disappointingly was scratched. I might also point out that the doctor at the hospital is named Stephen Edwards. So that is something I didn't even think of. Dr. Stevens escaped from Woodbury, and Dr. Stevens, Dr. Stephen Edwards. So is it possible that could be the same character? Well, it's not a bad theory, but we haven't seen anything that is alluding to it yet. You could be correct, but so far it doesn't look like we're going to see something like that. I don't really see Dawn doing something like that, like giving up Carol and Beth in order to find out Rick's group's location and then have that person try to get away and have them come and get them. Even though it makes a lot of sense and it'd be cool to see, I think that storyline is one, unfortunately, that will be scratched, and I don't know if we'll ever see anything like it again. That was kind of part of the back-and-forth battle between the governor's group and the prison in the comic book series, and it's kind of cool that they each have their own unique things about them. The comic book series has its own unique, interesting things with that battle and the way it went, and the TV series has its own version of that. For example, in the comic book series, we have the death of Lori right at the end when the governor is attacking, right? So in the comic book series, you have this big climax where like Herschel dies, Lori dies, like the baby dies, like all this shit happens, the prison gets destroyed, and Rick's group just has to hightail it out of there, and the governor dies. So there's it's like a massacre, right? In like one issue or like a couple issues. It's just insanity is how crazy that's like the best. That's like the best The Walking Dead probably ever, maybe we'll ever have. That's like the most exciting couple of issues ever, I say. We'll see if something would ever top it. Maybe. But yeah, I think that's a storyline that's probably scrapped, and I guess we'll see if maybe they do something similar to it. But we're pretty far past that point now, if you think about it. Considering we're past the church, we're past all that stuff, and we're getting closer now, past the Hunters, we're getting closer now to the start of what could be the Alexandria story arc from the comic book series. This one's from Chris Toon Productions, and he says, the first one, do you think that Beth could possibly take the place of Sophia from the comic books? So Sophia and Carl in the comic book series, spoilers, have developed some kind of a very close friendship / possibly a relationship that we're seeing the beginning of, especially since Carl went AWOL and killed these two boys that were bullying them and jumped them and hit them with a brick and were probably going to have their way with Sophia, even though she's a pretty tough fighter and she was fighting back and stuff. Carl grabs a shovel and beats him to death with it. So could we see Beth become the Sophia in the comic book series? Well, I don't know, man. I mean, she seems to me to be a lot older now. It could just be because the actress is like my age. She's like 28, right? But to me, it just seems like she's a lot older than Carl, So would that relationship make sense? I mean, in 5 or 10 years, it might, because she's really small, right? If she survives. So that could be where they're going with it. But, we haven't really seen the two of them have much in the way of any kind of friendship or anything like that. They've never really done many scenes where they're kind of, together or anything like that in the TV series. At least not that I can remember any, and right now anyway, at least not recently. So we could see something like that, but I honestly don't think we're going to, tell you the truth. Next one's also from him. He says, second, there's a big time gap after the all-out war story arc. Do you think the TV series version will use that to stop it from catching up to the comic book series? Also from Chris Toon Productions. Yeah, I do. I think that there's a 2-year time skip in the comic book series where we don't really see what happens, and I think they could fill that in the TV series version with at least a couple seasons. And that would put us in a point where if they continue to do that, by the time we're up to season like 12 to 15, we still are not caught up to the comic book series. And if you can add in a couple seasons there, Kirkman and Charlie, they can release a good solid 12 to 15 issues, which is 3 to 4, like 2, 3, 4 trade paperbacks, right, which is like 6 issues each. If they do, like last year they did All Out War, they did bi-weekly where they released 2 a month. If they do stuff like that every so often, they continue that, then we could see the show almost never catch up to the comic book series up until the point when the show eventually does end, because eventually it will come to an end, right? It can't go on absolutely forever, even if it gets replaced with another show like a companion series or something, or spin-off or something like that. I hope it goes on basically forever, but 10 or 15 years is a long time. If they go on past that, I mean, who knows? They could. As long as people keep watching, they'll probably keep going. But eventually, the people involved, Greg Nicotero and the others, they may not want to do it anymore, even though it's probably going to be like their life's work, to tell you the truth. All of them, probably. Anyone involved right now, The Walking Dead, I feel like the show's success as it continues is going to be like their greatest life's work, except for Frank Darabont, because it might have been with him, and it's still kind of his, because he was the one that kind of came up with the idea, but because he kind of got kicked out, I view The Shawshank Redemption as probably, plus that's like rated as like the greatest movie of all time, right? But everybody else pretty much, I would see this as like their life's work pretty much, best work they'll do in their lives probably. Next one's from Super Mert Rear. I don't know. Just a question I'd like to ask. I wonder if Tara and Dawn will recognize each other, because back in season 4, in an episode when Tara met the governor, she said she was a graduate from the police academy. If the police academy was affiliated to the Atlanta Police Department, then chances are they know each other. What do you think? Yeah, man, that's a really, really good question. I could see them doing some kind of tie-in between Tara and Dawn. They got to do something with Dawn, like. They have to tie her into the other story, like have her know at least one character. If she doesn't know Rick from him being an officer and maybe their training, then maybe if it's Tara, I think it makes a lot of sense, Now, was she telling the truth, Tara, when she said that? Because she's kind of one where she, I think, did you say she was a dispatcher or something? I don't know, something like that at the station. I think she was being honest about that, because she was a little bit shady at first, trying to act like she was tough, if you guys remember, and all that, when they first, the governor first met her and the others as well. Yeah, I think that would be good. I think something like that. Either her or Rick. I think either one should know Dawn from previous. Preferably Rick, but if not Rick, then Tara. That makes sense. I'll go with that. That's fine with me. Next one is from RKO Out of Nowhere. And he says, in your opinion, what has been the most shocking moment so far? So the most shocking moment in the entire series, now it depends, because for everybody it's probably going to be different, right? For people that read the comic book series, it won't be the death of Laurie, that's for sure. For people that read the comic book series, it might be the Andrea death, because none of us saw it coming. None of us expected it to happen there, unless you read spoilers or something online, or you're into that. If you're just a normal viewer that doesn't do that to themselves, good for you, because then you can experience it the way it's meant to be experienced, rather than reading it in a forum or some kind of leak thing online. I try to stay away from that stuff because I personally don't like it. I don't really, I kind of have to know with what I do with the channel, but I would say the Andrea death, man, that just came out of nowhere. And when that happened, my jaw just hit the floor. I couldn't believe that they did that. It was so different from the comic book series that would probably be the most shocking moment for me, is when we find out that Andrea was bitten, right? That was just crazy. I was convinced, I was sure they were going to go the other route. I was absolutely positive that was not going to happen, and it did. So that one, or maybe the Dale death, or maybe for most people it'd be the Shane death, because at that time, the way they shot season 2, it really didn't look like they were going to kill Shane off, because he had so much time. People who were first viewing it probably figured that he was going to be like one of the main characters all the way through. And you don't usually kill off like your front runner characters. So him or Laurie for most people. Aside from that, for comic book readers, Andrea, Dale. What else? I mean, there's a lot. You know, Herschel. What happened with him, the governor's death. There's a lot of shocking moments. Axel's was really shocking because when he gets shot, the way they did it was so well done. It was like, boom, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. It was awesome. So, so some great questions here, and I still have about 10 to 15 more. So I guess, let's do it. Let's do another part, and I'll release that video. I want to say either, like I said, if I'm releasing this, if you're watching this on Saturday, it'll probably be to Sunday, or if you're watching this Sunday, it'll be another one later. So let me know what you guys think about all of these different questions. How are you feeling about the show right now? Let me know what you think. Are you still as excited as you were after episode 3? Have you kind of do you not like the pacing? Let me know what you guys think kind of about the show right now as well too, because I'm interested to hear. And let's talk about the comments. As always, you guys know what to do. Please like it, please share it, please favorite if you wouldn't mind. And as always, it's Trev, guys. Stay in peace.